think a lot of men build something that they don't want, i.e. a life, a career, have a job, stick on and then they're in it because they feel stuck, because it would be a big fucking Band-Aid to rip off if they, left the relationship or left the job or, switch careers or whatever it is. And I've done both of those, and it is a big fucking Band-Aid to rip off.
Welcome to the Building Men podcast. I'm your host, Dennis Meralda. Hello and welcome to the Building Men podcast. Become the strongest version of yourself. Mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically. I did a whole hello.
Wait, no, you sounded like from Seinfeld. Hello.
I was just thinking of Uncle Leo. Hello, Jerry.
Yeah,
right?
isn't that how he enters the room, Uncle Leo? Hello, right? Doesn't he do that, or he doesn't?
I think so. Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm lying.
Oh, there we go. Guess two. There we go.
There it is.
What's up, brother?
Sorry, I forgot to hold your hand.
You forgot to hold my hand.
I know.
There we go.
I know.
We are in studio for the second day in a row. I'll tell you what, like yesterday was a long fucking day. We get to the end of the day because of, I guess, the fluorescent lights. These are fluorescent, right?
We get it, yeah.
Oh, man, we need some natural vitamin D in our life after every episode. We need to take a break outside. I was like spastic yesterday. Yeah, man, I felt like, plus I was fasting for most of the day yesterday. I did like a 24-hour fast. It was tough. It was tough
hurting
in the studio.
Oh,
yesterday.
yeah. That's why I always feel bad eating in front of you.
No,
but I still do.
No, I'm on like a detox month
Discipline.
right now. So I wanted to introduce our audience to Dave Robinson. Dave is a professional story work coach, a holistic trainer, an elite obstacle course racing athlete, and gone through the Enlifted program that I'm sure we'll talk about today. And I'll tell you what, he's got a fucking tremendous beard.
It's immaculate.
God damn.
Yeah.
Welcome, Dave. How's it going, my man?
Hello.
Hello. Hello. You know what?
Doing great. I appreciate it.
Anytime. Now that you say it that way.
Well, that's the stomach one.
That's the stomach
That's when
one.
the stomach. Yeah, when it's growling and it's always hungry. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good. Dude, you look like someone that was like north of the wall in Game of Thrones. In the best masculine way possible.
Yes.
I want you on my team if we're fighting against the White Walkers. Holy
There's some Irish in my blood somewhere.
Somewhere you could.
I would have never guessed. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So so thanks for joining us today on Building Men. We had an opportunity just to bullshit with you for a couple minutes before talking, and like we mentioned, there's not a script with what you're doing. We definitely go off the rails a little bit, but we always try to figure out how everything is coinciding with the way our mind operates, the way spirituality operates, and then recently we've really gotten involved with the words that we're talking to ourselves. So let's just start there with almost like with a layup. Tell us a little bit about your work with people around their stories, and then we'll go in a couple different directions. So how do you define that work when you say you're a story work coach? What does that mean?
So professionally, 90% of my time, 90% of my practice, 90% of my income, 90% of my efforts go into sitting across from someone else on a Zoom call with a Google Doc, a shared view Google Doc in front of us, and we are working people's stories. We are diving into the shit they say to themselves, about other people, about things that they've experienced, about things that they are experiencing, about things that they want to do, about things that hold them back, right? And we shift it. We create space, which creates the clarity. And it's the most profound practice I've ever experienced to really move the needle in a very short period of time.
When you say create space, we've had a couple people on over the past, month or so. We've heard that term several times, creating space. And for those people that are listening, they might not really understand, what does that mean? Like when you say create space, how would you define that, term as you're using it, creating space for people?
There's a lot of ways to do that, right? The main tenet of mindfulness is be here now. This is all we have. The present is all we have, right? A lot of times our present is clouded or shrouded or fogged by the mind static or the mind trash, just something going on in the head, right? Be it, I mean, there's literally a million things that it could be, right? And when we clear out the energies of a story that we're telling ourselves, of something we're saying, a feeling that we're getting, right? Those stories are manifesting themselves physically in our bodies, physiologically in our bodies, right? We're either upregulated in a sympathetic nervous system state, or we're downregulated in a parasympathetic nervous system state. It oscillates in between, right? Our breath and our words do that. And so clearing space is, in essence, the ability to move energy, right? Move the energy of the stories and be here now. Be parasympathetic. Be able to respond. Be able to be creative. Be able to learn, grow, etc. Right? And if we're just mind trash, mind fucked the whole time, right? We aren't able to do any of those things. Many of those things well, I should say.
It's interesting that you say that. Just recently, I've gone through this experience where I was able to look at a story that happened, 30 plus years ago in my life. Really write about it. I journaled about it for hours, and I was like bawling as I was going through this experience, talking about what happened to me, fully like coming to terms with it, understanding it, giving myself an opportunity to be a 12-year-old kid again, like almost having a weird conversation with myself, and then forgiving those who, in the situation that I was really holding resentment towards for such a long time. What happened after I went through that experience is like such a cathartic experience. All of a sudden, I started to realize there was once I moved, it was like going into a storage spot and taking like a bed out of the way. And I was like, holy shit, there's a lot more boxes back there that I didn't even realize were fucking there. Now I could see them. All of a sudden, I'm like, I feel like it's another Seinfeld thing where once he was able to kind of get to a point where he became so emotional, he couldn't be funny anymore because there was so much emotion. It's been so interesting to me to go through that journey where now I see all this shit that I was like just like repressing for such a long time. Do you notice that in your work, that once you're able to help people retell their story, once one thing is out of the way, it's like, okay, the floodgates are open and now shit's just going to flow out?
100% accurate. I found that for me personally, the first couple times I went through this, really going through level 1, right? The Enlifted level 1 program, which is part professional development, a lot personal development. There's a ton of emotion that gets moved, right? And that's going to continue to come out. It's not like we get off the Google Doc and we hit end on the Zoom call and it's like, now I'm great.
Right.
Like sometimes we are, right? Sometimes we need to sit with stuff, right? We need to integrate some things. There's something that's been there, energy that's been there, stagnated, festering, gross energy that's been there for 30 plus years that now is up and out. And so there's going to be something that happens afterwards, right? There's going to be, a recovery period that is needed after that. And what that does is, again, clearing something that's in your face, right? I can't see what's on my to-do list right now, but if I move it away, okay, now I can see what's in front of me, right? And then, there's other things to do, or other boxes to uncover, but the big one got out of the way, and it's layers. It's just peeling back layers.
So not to get too, deep so soon, but I mean, when you said that you had a lot of shit that was in your way, what was it? Like, what was a situation that you felt like you were telling yourself a specific story for such a long period of time, and then going through the process of understanding the words that you were using, you were able to shift your mindset in a way like, listen, I'm gonna rewrite my script in a way where I'm not the victim here. I am more, I'm going to be the hero of this story. So what was something that you had to rewrite in your own script?
Great question.
It's a deep one, I know. It's
no doubt. That's good. You heard that big breath. I'll tell two stories. All right, I'll tell two stories. The first time I got introduced to this work was I had no idea that it was being done. Let me put it to you this way. And it wasn't story work per se, right? So I was introduced to Mark England early 2017 from the same hometown. Mark's the founder of Vocabulary and Enlifted, about 10 years older than I am. And we met at a networking event in town through a mutual friend of ours, Brian Muka, and went to lunch a couple times, went and grabbed a beer, once or twice. And, over the next 6 months got to become, decent friends. And I was sharing with him some things that I was going through. Tail end of a 5-year relationship, went into, last 2 years of that were straight downhill with a lot of unfun stuff going on. And so I was thinking about transitioning from my 8-year financial planning career to get back into the coaching world. That weighed heavily on me. I had agreed to not only run a 50-mile ultramarathon, when the farthest I had ever run before was 15 miles, but put on a race with a friend of mine, raise money for a child cancer support organization. And I had all these thoughts of, what if I hurt myself? What if I, quit at mile 32 because it was too hard, and we raised all this money, and oh, Dave didn't do it, just all kinds, or what if I got hurt, right? Like all kinds of stuff, right? I'll never forget this, man. It was so funny because it was so nonchalant. He goes, "You know what, man? Let's hop on a call. I'll send you a Google document. Just write some shit out, and we'll take it from there. On me." And I was like, all right, what do I got to lose, right? What do I got to lose? And I had heard him talk about language before. So, long story short on this one, after 90 minutes, dudes, I knew I was going to finish the race. I had shifted the what if this goes wrong to what if this goes right. And that was, right? Oh my God, What if I pull this shit off? Right? That would be wild, right? I understood that one of the big fears that I had surrounding leaving my financial planning career was that nobody would buy my product, I would make zero money, and I would be homeless. And it was really that third one that very irrational, right? Being homeless in my hometown when my folks here, my sisters here, my best friends here, et cetera, et cetera. But I truly thought, subconsciously, unconsciously, that I was going to live under the bridge because it wouldn't work and I would fail, right? And that was holding me back, right? So I was able to clear that, identify that, and it was within an hour and a half.
It's right? Crazy.
Just total mind shift, cognitive shift, right? So fast forward a couple years, I helped launch Enlifted at Paleo FX as part of the team that did that in 2019. That's a really big health and wellness event in Austin, Texas. And after that, I had intended to stay involved, and yet some things were shifting in my personal and professional life. Very beginning of 2020, I moved to San Diego, and I had intended to be there for about 6 months. I was there for 6 weeks because I had an opportunity to move to Mexico, the southern tip of the Yucatan Peninsula, just north of the Belize border, tiny little town with a business partner from a previous business, and we were opening a health and wellness retreat. So gorgeous little spot. I went all in, tons of momentum. I moved there on March 2nd, 2020, and drum roll, timing, right? So I have this dream of mine that I've always had in literal paradise, like picking mangoes and bananas off trees and gorgeous blue lagoon, and literally exactly everything I'm looking to create and build. I'm in it. I'm there. I'm doing it. I'm learning Spanish. I'm playing soccer with the kids. I'm eating ice cream every day from the little stand. It's fantastic. Crumples in 2 weeks, in a day, and a month into the COVID situation, I'm in the dumps, man. Just in the depths and darkness of how could this happen to me? Woe is me, victim mentality, right? Got on level 1, and within 4 or 5 weeks, had a cognitive shift of why is this happening to me to, I am happening to me, right? And I can create whatever I want to create. Saw the shift happen within me, saw the shift happen in my peers, the people on my group, instantaneously with some really heavy stuff, right? Way heavier than stuff I've been through, and made the commitment to go all in. I mean, it was just such a profound experience to rewrite the story of the failure of that dream, or the loss of that dream, right? And from the ashes, the greatest things can be created. And I'm doing what I love to do now. Like, truly, I feel like I was created for this. I was born to do this. And I wouldn't have had that experience, right? I'd have a different experience. I'd be 3 times as tan, and I'd have, I'd be fluent in Spanish, and probably have 6 dogs right now, and running around eating coconuts and shit, But I'm very happy to be here, doing what I'm doing.
Right, and you definitely have some kind of like a braided thing coming out of your beard.
Something's happening.
I'm getting close. Yeah, but there would definitely be one.
If you were in Mexico, 100%. Yeah, you would have dreadlocks. You'd have beads in your beard.
Can you dreadlock a beard?
Absolutely.
You could do that, right?
Yeah, you could dreadlock anything if you put your mind to it. How one of my can you milk me? The amount, it's whatever.
So good. So good.
But one of my questions, because I'm just thinking about myself, and I haven't been through the Enlifted program yet. I've went through his vocabulary course with Mark England, but it's how often do you find yourself having to kind of find yourself going back into that shift, where you start thinking that same way that you were? Or is it just like, do you constantly have to keep yourself in check all the time? Like you recognize it, and then the awareness of it, then you have to kind of jump back and go back to this, what and catch yourself.
Yeah. It depends on what it is. I think we're always pulling back layers if we're moving in the right direction, right? If you're building yourself or building something of value, then you're always learning, and you're always going to be moving through things. The brain wants to be on autopilot, wants to put as many things on autopilot as it possibly can. And so many things are habits. Many things are just, once you shift that, once you change the speech, once you learn to pick up on X, Y, Z, you start to, or I've experienced starting to get ahead of it. I notice when I use certain language now, and I'm to the point where I can sometimes correct it before I say it. Other times I say it, and I'll choose to correct it afterwards if I notice it. That gets easier and easier and easier as time goes on. And for other things, once it's cleared, once that emotion's gone, I mean, there's a saying that, I'm not going to get this 100%, but wisdom is experience without the emotion attached to it, or something along those lines. And so a lot of those stories, in my experience, once they're cleared, they're pretty much gone, or at least the emotion that comes along with it. Right? We obviously can't go back in time and change shit that we've been through or experienced, right? But we can change our perception to that thing now, and we can change or alter what happens to us physiologically if we think about that thing. So before, when I thought about, when I thought about leaving that relationship, or that conversation that I had, and then walking back down the steps and turning around and like, there's the dog, and like, all right, see y'all, like, fuck, like when I thought about that for 18 months, I would get the right, like the shoulders would come up, I'd get the diaphragm hit, I'd feel like right, and I wrote it down, I slowed it down, I breathed through it, I moved that energy, and from that point on, I could think about that and be like, yeah, all good.
So if you're talking to someone who knows they're going to go through a challenging situation, where in the past trauma would have manifested itself, or even the story that they told themselves of what was about to happen, it would always be in a specific way. They're going to see a specific person, and knowing that would happen, it's going to trigger, I'm going to feel shit in my chest, I'm going to get sweaty, and it's almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy of like, you're expecting this physiological event to occur because it has in the past with you and this other person, for example. If you're coaching me through that, say I'm going to see someone tomorrow night, and in my mind I'm already thinking, There's going to be a negative interaction. This person's going to be a total fucking asshole to me, and I'm going to react in this specific way. How would you coach me through rewriting that preemptively before it actually happens?
A couple of different ways you can do this. And there might not be a right or wrong answer to this, right? But a couple of different strategies to use. One is you could write down what you anticipate will happen. Here's how I'm going to feel. Here's what I'm going to, et cetera. Here's what's happened in the past, et cetera, right? The other juxtaposed with that, write down the best case scenario. What if you went in and anticipated the exact opposite, or just came in with that story of the exact opposite, right? Because the energies are going to match, so going into that scenario, knowing for a fact that this person is going to be a dick, right? You're probably not going to walk in there like, hey, like good vibes, shoulders back, feeling fucking good, right? Like you're going to walk in there knowing that this.
You're going to be defense mode. You're going to be ready to fucking throw down.
100%. So shifting that body, right? That's a pattern interrupt. Because I imagine it with experience and with repeated things in the past, right? That individual has some idea of how you're going to show up to that situation too, right? Or some expectation, right? And then that brings up that third thing is to pattern interrupt it, right? In whatever way, shape, or form. Sometimes that's the best thing you can possibly do. If you laugh at the devil, he will run away, right?
Love that.
It's pulled out rarely and oftentimes a little bit further along in the process, but there are a lot of ways to do a pattern interrupt, right? I had one where this was kind of early on in my career that opened the eyes for me. It happened on accident multiple times in a row. My client was about to go through a very dramatic, tell me about the very dramatic thing that happened. And she got 2 or 3 sentences into this 2-paragraph long thing, and my Wi-Fi cut out. So it was like, disconnect, right? So then we go back on again, right? And she goes, okay, we're back. And it's like, yeah, sorry about that, right? And she goes, okay, so, I went in and he did this, and it was such and it was like, click, power went out, disconnected. It happened like 3 times in a row, and she came back on the 3rd time. We'd been friends for a long time. She was laughing her ass off. She was like, okay, I get it. I was like, yeah, pattern interrupt, baby. Totally happened on purpose,
Brilliant.
It shifted that for her. She was like, this is ridiculous. Like I understand the 3rd time I tried to start off that story that way, I'm being, ridiculous. And so that was what she needed to laugh at it as opposed to,
Yep.
And so I don't know, a couple different strategies that may or may not be helpful.
Yeah.
It's
but
interesting.
I really like that laugh at the devil, he will run away.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. We had a guy on. His name was Matthew Pates, and he has an unbelievable story. Abuse that he suffered as a child, and he went through the process of recounting his story to us. And he had this thing that he talked to us about. You remember when he was saying that, like, this fight or flight mode that we get into, when we're dealing with something challenging. If you walk out into a situation, you're ready to do harm to someone. If you see someone with, that's tense and like they're ready to go, you avoid that person. Like you see that. But if you see someone that's like jovial and happy, you're like, you know what? That's an easy victim for me.
It's a defense mechanism.
It's almost like what you said. I totally understand it, but I'm also thinking you want to go into that situation to rewrite that pattern interrupt, but also at the same time, you also have, since you've had this trauma in your past with this specific person, there still needs to be, in my opinion, just a little level of not, maybe cautiousness or something, where you're just at least aware of the potential. So I think that's the beauty in writing both. Saying like, okay, this could be the worst case scenario. This is the best case scenario. I don't want to tell myself this story of this worst case scenario. I want it to be the best case scenario. But since I've done the process of going through both, I'm at least aware that this possibility at least exists in my world. Definitely. And there's a big difference evolutionarily and in the modern world between fear and danger, right? It's good to have eyes up, right? It's good to be aware of your surroundings. Yep. It's good to have those boundaries. It's good to
hey, let's, if you're going to come out swinging, I'm going to start a couple steps back, right? It's all good. It's all good, as opposed to coming up, hands up, dukes up, like, let's go, right? So maybe starting coming up, hands up, a couple steps back, everything's all good. Everything's great, actually, as opposed to like that leads to a different outcome.
Yep.
And on that fear and danger note, right? Our mind wants to compartmentalize things. We would love it to be that way. Hey, here's my work stuff. This is my work stress. This is my life stress. This is my life bubble. This is the life or the personal slice of the pie. This is my physical slice of the pie, right? This is the traffic that I deal with. This is the past stuff that I deal with, right? But it doesn't work like that. Everything works in concert with one another. Everything bleeds into one another. And so that's why when we can clear a story from the past or clear a story from your spouse, right? Oftentimes you go into work feeling a little bit better, right? When we can clear some stuff at work, it makes the home time a little bit easier, right? Our bodies are still going to respond to that stress the same way, whether it's traffic, whether it's work, whether it's physical stress, whether it's relationship stress, whether it's something that happened when you were 7 stress and you think about it, whether it's the saber-toothed tiger, right? It's all the same fear response. And so identifying that in yourself, noticing that, oh, wow, I've got some anxiety coming up. Like I noticed that because stomach churns, heart rate picks up, can't take a deep breath, right? And you start labeling those things, then you can do the opposite of that. You can start breathing low and slow. You can start repeating a different mantra. You can start going into the thing. Oh, okay. Wow, that made me really anxious. I wonder why. Well, it's because and you work through it, as opposed to ignoring it and just experiencing it.
So it's almost we're no longer thinking about those things happening as slices of pie. It's almost like, bring it back to Seinfeld, like soup. It's everything kind of like it's kind of in there together. So mulligatawny.
That's right.
Right? Jambalaya. That's my favorite episode. The Soup Nazi is by far my favorite episode.
No soup.
Come back 2 weeks.
But so I had a quick question. Like, what about, do you find with the people that you coach that even though I feel, I'm more speaking from experience than anything else, like even though I know I want to get out of a situation, I don't like this self-talk that I give myself is negative. My body instinctually wants to stay there. Like that's comfort for me. This like negativity that I feel, like let's say like thinking about a past relationship. I hate the way it makes me feel terrible, but I know what that is. And I know how comfortable it is to get there. So I resort back to that all the time because the unknown is scarier to me. Do you ever find that people almost want to be in that and that's why it's hard for them to get out?
Definitely. Unknown is while it is uncomfortable, it is also familiar, right? And it's a big risk evolutionarily to cross over that mountain range to try to find better water. We got some water here. It's kind of cloudy and shitty, and we're picking berries. We don't have a whole lot of like animals to hunt, but like we're fucking alive, man. We're making it, and we don't know whether like it looks green over there, but it's a long way to go. And what if there's not water, and then we're dead?
Right.
Like that's a real life scenario that that is being translated 1 million years later into this relationship potentially, right? Hey, I got this thing, right? At least it's here. I know that, right? What if, right? And so what I really like to do is play best case scenarios. Again, really look into on one end where you want to go. Look into that white spot of the map, right? And realize that you can fill that shit in. Right? You can decide to turn left or turn right or go straight or keep going or go over or under or whatever. And in many ways, you create whatever you want that map to be. Right? And so that's the power of words. That's the power of visualization. That's the power of attention and creation. Right? In order to untether yourself, though, do a deep analysis of why that thing is uncomfortable to begin with, or why that thing is not good to begin with. And what if that continues, right? What's your life going to look like in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, right? Contrast that with what it could like if it stopped, or if you transitioned, or if you took the chance, or if you got uncomfortable. What could your life look like then? Which do you like more?
Right.
Yeah.
That's an infrared sauna. I got the ice bath, the ice chest freezer out back as well. And I know that 10 minutes and 38 degrees is going to be really fucking cold. At this point, though, I know that that's all it is. I don't give any more power to the cold than what it is. It's just cold. Just like that's hot. Right? That's hot. That's cold. Sad is sad. Happy is happy. Right? We attach a lot of other things to those experiences or emotions or states of being, and sometimes we don't need to.
It's like the movie The Croods. It's a Pixar movie where they're cavemen and they draw this circle around their area. It's the fear circle, and everything outside of that is an uncomfortable spot. So people stay paralyzed in this spot that is comfortable, but because they're afraid of what exists on the outside of it. And
Brilliant analogy.
And it's something where I think what happens to people in our life, and I'll slowly transition into just the idea of building men. With men especially, I think what we do is we get into this comfort zone, this safety space, and we're like, okay, we're here now, and I have my job. Maybe I don't like it, but I'm making a certain amount of money. My family looks a certain way to the people on the outside. It's kind of comfortable in that way. I kind of let myself go because, it's more comfortable to sit on the couch and watch the Giants lose every Sunday for how many fucking years.
And 2 Super Bowls in the last
sure. All right.
I know you gotta remember what we got.
Man.
All right.
Washington football team fan.
All right. Gotcha.
I told that to a guy today, and he looked at me dead in the eyes and said, "Man, I'm sorry."
Yeah, I want to hug you.
You really meant it, yeah.
Over the Zoom, right?
No, and I felt it too,
Yeah.
and I hugged him, and I was like, "Thank you."
I needed
Coming
that.
from the team that I hate the least of the others in the NFC East,
Yeah,
that's
sure.
the.
There we go.
Cheers.
But there's that spot where we feel complacent in this fear circle because we're afraid to venture out to see what exists on the outside, and it could be something that's unhealthy for us or uncomfortable for us, but that. The devil is better than the devil you don't. I'll bring it back to the devil analogy. Why do you think that we stay in that spot for such a long time? Do you think that it's just fear paralyzing us? Do you think we need to, you mentioned being homeless. Is it just the absolute worst we go to all the time, or is it maybe a combination thereof?
It's a combination. We're gonna avoid the danger, right? We're trained evolutionarily and trained by society to avoid danger, and to think about the dangerous thing first, right? When in reality, like, you can go to the Grand Canyon, it's just don't go within like 3 to 5 to 10 feet of the edge. That's the dangerous part. It's not dangerous to go to the Grand Canyon and like, oh wow, that's yeah, we're up high, yeah, that's far, but that's not dangerous, right? You could be fearful of that, but it's not dangerous. I think a lot of men build something that they don't want, i.e. a life, a career, have a job, stick on and then they're in it because they feel stuck, because it would be a big fucking Band-Aid to rip off if they, left the relationship or left the job or, switch careers or whatever it is. And I've done both of those, and it is a big fucking Band-Aid to rip off, Look, I'm a risk taker myself. I tend to think that if someone else can do it, then, I can do it. And I don't think that I'm in any way, shape, or form, I know that I'm not better than anybody. I just know that if I really love something and I really believe in something, I'm just going to keep going, and I just, won't quit, and good things happen over time, right? Ultimately, I looked at my life with a relationship that wasn't fulfilling, albeit, with a gorgeous girl living in downtown with the white picket fence and the house and the dog and everything else, right? To the outside, it looked great. To what I was supposed to do, it looked great. I looked at the career, financial planning, like things weren't popping 100%, but over the next 30 years, I'd make a lot of money. I'd take a lot of time off, and I was looking at like a B to like B plus life. And that's awesome for a whole lot of people, right? I knew that at the end of the day, at 80 plus years old, I'd listened to enough books and read enough and talked to my grandfather enough, and the things that people regret are staying small, not taking the chances, not taking the risks, settling, right? Not seeing what would happen if they fucking swung the bat and went all the way, and being okay to make the mistakes. And so I committed to that. I committed to going all the way, and that has led me to a lot of strikeouts and a lot of, I've been hit by pitches, and I've banged some out of the park, dude. Like hit some bombs, and I'll continue to hit a lot of singles, and continue to get some walks and some strikeouts, and but I love playing the game. I love being in the arena, and I know at the end of the day, regardless of what the score of that game is, or how many days I spent on the DL, or how many times I got traded, or whatever it is, like I'm gonna be happy that I played the game. And a lot of guys won't play the game.
As a former baseball player in high school and college, coach, that definitely resonates with me. It's funny, as you're talking, for some reason I'm just going down this like lines from movies.
If you're gonna quote Seinfeld,
I was gonna do Swing Away, Merrill from Signs. Oh my God, what a fucking great movie, right? It's
I know.
I just wrote Swing Away, Merrill. The other thing that you said initially, do you remember the movie The Edge?
Of course.
So you said like what one person can do. The line Anthony Hopkins, if you've never seen the movie, it is Anthony Hopkins says to Alec Baldwin, "What one man can do, another can do." And he keeps saying it. Well, one man can do, another can do. Say it with me. He goes, "We're going to kill the fucking bear." Such a great fucking movie.
It's a big-ass bear that's trying to attack.
Kodiak bear that's hunting them down.
It's Roger Bannister in the 4 Minute Mile. It's limitations are in our mind. And in many ways, that's, the other side of that. Like, what's the opposite of a limitation? Limitless, right? Limitlessness is in our mind. Right, we can do anything, man. Like there's no such thing as unrealistic goals or dreams, merely unrealistic timelines. That's a great Tim Ferriss quote that I love, right? I love. No such thing as unrealistic goals or dreams, merely unrealistic timelines. So, and frankly, man, from a building men standpoint, right, y'all, I think a lot of dudes try to set the trajectory at rocket ship. And what happens?
Yep.
Straight up, straight down, right? Whereas I've been talking about this for a while. This is how I view training athletically, right? I want to be able to, set aside time to better myself physically every single day, right? And I want to do that for the rest of my life. I'm going to do that for the rest of my life. I want to be able to express myself physically into my 50s and 60s and 70s and 80s and 90s and 100s, and knowing I'm not going to be banging ultra marathons at age 100, but also if you don't use it, you lose it, AKA if you use it, you keep it. And I intend to keep keeping it. Setting that trajectory to an airplane taking off, right? Then getting up to that cruising altitude, and then it's a whole hell of a lot easier to stay once you're up there, as opposed to the rocket ship. I think that's a great cognitive shift for a lot of folks. It takes a lot of the pressure off. And it allows us to chip away at stuff, to chop away at stuff, and make progress over time.
I think there's a saying, it's like people significantly overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year, but significantly underestimate what they can accomplish in 5. If they're just making these steady gains with what they're doing over a period of time, it's like that momentum, starts to take hold of it.
100%, and that's why looking back at to your point with the relationship, like looking back at, okay, well, where am I going to be in 1 year if nothing changes? And it might not be that different. Where am I going to be in 5 years if nothing changes and I'm still in the same spot?
Yeah,
still in the same shitty spot, doing the same things, thinking the same way, right, or worse. That's going to be unbearable. What about 20 years? What about a lifetime of that? Right. And then now you're like, oh, shit. OK, but then that sends you down the dark hole. Well, the light hole is, all right, well, if I do change, where am I going to be in a year? Well, maybe it'll still be shitty. Maybe it'll be hard. We'll have some troubles. 5? Oh, dude, I'll be a totally different person. 20? You're on a different part of the world, So thinking in those terms.
You posted on Instagram, I think it was February 15th, where you had your 5-year anniversary of doing something physical, expressing yourself physically every single day. Where did that start? How did you come to that idea? You had mentioned, doing something physically to better yourself every single day or not. Where did you come up with that idea? It was like, I'm going to do this forever? Or is it like, I'm just going to make it to a year, 5 years? What was your plan there?
So that was in 2016 that I started that. In 2015, I had started to get into Spartan racing, obstacle course racing, and I sucked, dude. I was fat. I was out of shape. I was coming off the couch for 2 or 3 years. Coming from an athletic background, this was a far cry from where I, my glory days of college 3 years prior, right? And I wanted to work out every day of 2015. So I got like 73 days in, I got to St. Patrick's Day, and I got drunk on St. Patrick's Day, and I forgot, right? And this was a little bit different time. I'm living a lot differently now than I did then, right? And then I fell off the wagon, right? And I didn't commit. I didn't have a full, I didn't believe I could do it, right? I didn't tell anybody about it. I was doing it, solo. But I set some goals for myself. Earlier that year, I said, I'm going to qualify for the Obstacle Course Racing World Championships. And that was far, far out. I was no way, shape, or form should be making those goals. Right? I ended up that following year, the day before my birthday is the 16th of February, I decided that I wanted to, again, same thing, work out every day of the 28th year of my life. This time I decided. This time I committed, and it felt different. And once I hit that first 100 days, right, once I got that true momentum going, right, I dragged myself out of bed a couple times. I'd lay in bed, I'd scan my day and be like, fuck, I didn't do it, right? So I'd get out, and start banging some push-ups or something, and like just get something out of the way, right? But it got a whole hell of a lot easier, and I ended up changing the definition from working out or exercising to making a concerted effort to set aside time to better myself physically every day. So knowing that rest days are important, knowing that I'm not going to just bang myself into the ground, or hammer myself into the ground over time. On my rest days, I'll get in the sauna, right? Or on the rest days, I'll, do a vinyasa flow, or take a long walk, right? And I'll call that, cool, check the box, off and running. I got to the end of the year and had built up a ton of momentum personally, had built up a ton of momentum professionally. I lost a ton of weight. I got a lot stronger, got a lot faster, got a lot fitter. Races were getting a lot more fun because I was doing a lot better, right? And I thought I'd just keep going. And, now it's as simple as I move every day, period, and it's that easy. Every day I'm going to move somehow, some way, and setting the trajectory to that. I qualified for OCR Worlds in 2018, was injured in 2019, 2020 pandemic. I'm going up to Vermont in 2 weeks. I'm actually driving through Jersey on Monday the 19th. Maybe I'll
yeah, dude, absolutely.
Hell yeah.
That's a Sunday.
We're off 95. Yeah.
That's a Sunday?
Sunday?
Yeah, we are. Well, I'll tell you what,
We can be somewhere off 95, I'll tell you that right now.
I'm exit 7 off 95.
Yeah.
Literally, 1 mile off of exit 7. We'll do something physically to better ourselves collaboratively, and we'll do like a joint Instagram live or something on that day. That's awesome.
I love it. Yeah. So, I intend to do this forever, and I love it. I've always been active. Getting outside means everything to me. Putting my feet in the grass and being able to run. I've been hurt. I've been injured. I know one day I won't be able to run. I'll get old, and I fucking love just moving, and so I want to just keep doing it.
Was there a moment, and you said you got off the couch after 2 years, was there something that you saw that inspired you? Did you look at yourself in the mirror? I know for me there was a point where I looked at myself and I was like, you fat fuck.
Dennis sent me a picture of himself, which is like the most unflattering picture. I still have it.
Yeah,
him is like in the bathroom, just like.
It was from the front and from the side. I'm 6'4", and my wheelhouse is like around 222, 225-ish, and I was like 255. It was so gooey and like And I remember I was like, I'm looking at this person. I'm like, I was so just disgusted. I'm like, never, ever again. I told Anthony, if I ever get over 230 again, I want you to punch me in the stomach. And like right now, after like a month I was on vacation, I'm like 228. I'm like, I need to fucking get this shit under control because I don't want to get the wind knocked out of me. So, but was there a moment for you, Dave? Was there like where you said, this is it. I'm like, this is my line in the sand. It's either what you saw or what you heard, or was there an inspiration?
I got professional photos done for my financial planning, like the mug shots for your social or website picture.
Yeah.
In the tie with the tight collar and stuff coming out, a little bit coming over the collar.
Like a biscuit busting out of the.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a biscuit. But, it might have been a bagel. I don't know. It was something coming out, right? And actually, it's really interesting. I was living with 4 or 5 other buddies of mine. One of those types of houses when you're 24, 25, right? We squatted up and we're tossing the football one day, and my buddy Sean says, "Dude, guys, come on in, right? Come check this out." And he showed one of the early promo videos of a Spartan race. It looked really cool, like tossing spears and crawling in mud and running around and rah rah rah. And all of us were like, "Yeah, let's do it." It was in 3 weeks or something like that. No one else did it except me and Sean, right? So we pretty much off the couch to one of the hardest races that Spartan put on at that time frame, like a very notorious race, a 10K with 30 some obstacles, but it's on a ski resort, but in the middle of summer. And so you're going up and down ski mountains. It took me, dude, hours and hours and hours, dressed in all cotton, like not knowing anything, like just
bloody nipples.
Dude, oh my God, miserable, bro. And that was a big moment for me. Because I hated it and I sucked at it and I did terrible and it was the worst. And then when I finished, I was like, fuck, that was kind of cool. I wonder if I tried. I wonder if I could, like, damn, I'm fat. That sucked. I need to get back into it. And what if I tried again? And so that kind of got the ball rolling a little bit. And for me, it takes time to get the momentum going. But once that momentum's going, it's going. So 2 years later brings me to the streak, and then now 5 years later, and we're rocking and rolling.
That's so cool. I mean, I'm just thinking for Building Men, I would love to even start a challenge up. I mean, we could maybe do it collaboratively or something. Even just post every day, like maybe put in your story, like if you've done something physical today to better yourself, comment, or just so there's like a level of accountability for, because it's something that I want to adopt as well. It's been, as I went through a journey, like a physical journey to lose, it was like 40 something pounds over the course of like 4 or 5 months. That was just what I was doing. There wasn't a level of higher accountability that I was doing it for. So I feel like I would love to do that. I'm sure you would.
And do it like moving with intention. That's what I like.
Yes.
What you're talking about, where it's like your rest days are with intention. So your rest days are get out in nature and walk and see something you've never seen before, or do yoga on this day, or do some sort of movement activity, whatever it could be. And like you said, you go into the sauna, or you'll do something cold exposure during that time. Like that is all with intention, and it doesn't mean you have to bang weights around every day, because you're not going to last very long. So I love that kind of mixture of everything together.
Yeah, the best ability is availability.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I've been hurt in the past. I've been hurt a lot, and enough to make me not want to be hurt, and AKA I like being healthy a whole hell of a lot.
Of the races that you've done, I mean, I've seen some pictures where you're like walking across like hot coals and fucking carrying. What is your thing where you're like, I can't wait to fucking do that one? And what's the thing that you're like, oh shit, I have to do this again? Yeah,
so I used to fucking love it, dudes. I haven't touched a barbell in 2 years since I blew out my back in 2019 really bad, and I was a competitive power lifter in college. Was a strength and conditioning coach at the University of Richmond for a year, so very privy with all
the spiders, right?
Spiders, yeah, exactly. You guys, Giants had a lot of spiders.
Yeah.
Kerry Wynn, Coach Kerry Wynn.
Yeah, big boy.
For a while. Yeah, good guy. But ever since blowing out my back, I haven't gone back to it. I haven't really needed it. That was a big thing for me. Is like letting go of a lot of that stuff, like letting go for the need to put on all that armor. Like a lot of that was built 10 years ago out of insecurity and ego and trying to earn respect the wrong way, right? So I was able to shed a lot of that shit, and now the 450-pound tire flip, I touch it and I do my burpees. Right?
Yeah.
And I'd like to get back to the point. I'm planning on getting back to the point, because after this year, I put so much into my running and into my like running hills and assault bike stuff, and just getting a better engine, that I'm missing that strength pop now. I'm missing that component. Even bringing it back in with some kettlebells or some single leg stuff. Like I'm gonna start to get my strength back over this next year, frankly. And so I'd like to start hitting that tire again, but over the past dozen or so races, that's been the one where if they don't have it, my chances are a lot better than if they do have it of doing very, very well in that race, because I know I'm going to be out 30 burpees or whatever. But I just love running in the mountains. I just love running. Like running down a ski slope is just so fun, because it's a full scent. And you
can't do it gracefully. It's like,
yeah, it's
hard at least.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's. I'll try to explain this. I'm so fucking present, and I'm thinking so fast that it feels like I'm not thinking. Right? My body is just doing shit. Like my feet is just I'm midair. Right. And I'm like, oh, fuck, that rock looks unstable. Well, what if I go over there? Well, no, I can't go there. What about this one? Right. And it's like, yeah, I'll step there. And I'm like sort of processing that, but it's just like happening and then fucking flying. And I know that in any misstep is going to be a yard sale of all my shit. And, it's just gonna tumbling, and it's going to suck. And it's being present. It's being alive. Like just running down a mountain for me. And so I love that stuff, and I love all the other obstacles. Everything else is fun. It's like being a kid again, like playing in the woods, playing in the creek. Like, you're moving rocks, you're, picking this up, you're going up over there, you're doing the monkey bars, right? Like all that stuff. It's just fun, man. It's good stuff. And when you can do it for fun, you can do it and try to be better. Build yourself, and I like that aspect of it a lot.
I'm going to use that to segue into growing up, right? So one thing that we talk about in Building Men is what stories do kids need growing up, when they're starting to create their own identity, like who they are when they look in the mirror, who they are within their family structure, who they are in their, in their friend group in society, and they're starting to develop this sense of self. I believe that we're missing out on specific rites of passage for young men to help them develop a sense of self and develop a sense of masculinity. So you just mentioned going back and playing and having fun and fucking, just doing active shit. What are rites of passage that you think kids should be going through, to help them develop that sense of, that sense of self, that sense of identity?
Certainly spending time in nature, the camping, long physical things, right? Like go canoe for 5 days and have to carry your shit and port over some stuff and like drag the canoe and like get bit by bugs and be hot and sweaty. But at the end, you're like, holy shit, that was crazy. Like I can do hard things, I think that's very valuable, right? I think somebody in that position of not power, but somebody in that position of influence, like Dennis, you said you're like the 14 years older than Anthony, right? 14 years older than your brother. So I was thinking about this. My sister is due with her first child. It would be I've got two younger sisters. She's due in 2 weeks. It's a boy, so I'm going to be Uncle Dave for the first time. Really excited. I don't have any kids of my own, so this is a very exciting time for a family and my folks, certainly, to become grandparents and everything. And I was talking with my girlfriend, my partner Ruslana, about this yesterday, and she's like, "What are you gonna tell him? Like, what do you want to say to him?" And I said, "I'm gonna wait until he's about 9 or 10 or 11 or something, and I'm gonna pull him aside, and I'm gonna, we're gonna go do something fucking cool I don't know what that is, what that's going to be in 10 years, but it's going to be cool, and I'm going to say to him, listen, man, somebody's got to be a motherfucking badass, and it might as well be you, right? And just leave it at that.
That's it.
And, and obviously there's what I love about Angelo Cisco is the alpha hippie. It's the strong and kind, right? True masculinity is providing a safe container for people to be able to express themselves, being able to express yourself, and also being able to handle your business and realize you can do whatever the fuck you want to do in this world, as long as you're not hurting other people and as long as you're, it's making you happy, right? And so giving people the instilling confidence in kids, right? And letting them know that like they can be what they want to be. Like they don't have to listen, like, maybe encouraging more good pirates as opposed to, more sailors type thing, I don't know. That's the rebel in me wanting to be a little bit, send people down a path that might not be the most cut and dry, but also could be very rewarding and fun. So.
You got to jump on the Mike Bledsoe rite of passage trip, because we had him on and he was telling us about what he would do with his sons when he eventually has sons. It's illegal in 50 states. What he wants
Ayahuasca
to
at 10 or something.
Absolutely, yeah.
You nailed it twice.
Yeah, 2 times. Pre-hunting, post-hunting. Ayahuasca trip.
Kill your first deer and then liquid
and then you vomit for
eat the heart.
It's going to be some Khal Drogo shit going on there too, without a doubt. Yeah, that's amazing.
Now, smoking DMT, maybe the way to go.
Maybe that's it. Who knows?
What you're doing with your work, the building men, like the way that we talk about it, it's like mental, spiritual, physical, emotional. I know that could be cliche in certain aspects, but we truly believe that everything works synergistically together. And if you're not taking care of one of those points, it's definitely like a weak link in your chain of strength or your building blocks in your life. And what I've heard from you so clearly is that you're taking care of all of those things simultaneously. Like you're so aware of how your physical well-being impacts you and the way you're showing up emotionally for people. You have the spiritual sense, and then also the mental aspect, and being cognizant of the stories you're telling yourself, the stories you're putting out there in the world, and then what you believe about a situation. And everything is working so synergistically together. I feel honored to have spent the last hour getting to know you, because I truly believe in everything that you're doing. And not to disparage any of the other guests, but you have it together in such a perfect way, I would say. I feel truly honored to have had the opportunity to meet you, to have learned from you during the last hour or so as well.
I appreciate you and your kind words, and both of you guys very much. Not only for the platform and for the conversation and the giggles and the laughs, but also
that's what we do.
Also being able to share this, because while all of us have this in us, I was not always this way in any way, shape, or form. And I also know I've got a long ass way to go, and that's fucking exciting, y'all. It's exciting to climb mountains.
Yep. And
you finish climbing this one, you get to climb other ones. So.
And going on this Enlifted journey, like truly understanding the words that we're using, we'll have a part 2 of this as well after we've had an opportunity.
Once we do our program, and then I'm sure our conversation is going to be a little different after that. So,
Anthony, any 100%. Final words?
No. So one thing I did want to say though is that I did a Spartan race, so I was a strength and conditioning coach, and so I went in with the group of the people that I was there, who I coached alongside with, and we got wasted the night before, right? So, because I'm like, whatever, like we've been lifting all of our life, we'll be fine. I'm in good shape. I show up to again a mountain, right? And the first thing we have to do is just hike up the entire mountain. I'm green. I can't. I'm vomiting on the side. There's old ladies passing me. I'm gonna die doing this. And it was the most humbling experience I've ever had. And I have a whole new respect for those races. I need to do another one again. Maybe don't drink the night before. But that was. I was thinking back when you were telling me going downhill and stuff and doing all those obstacles. I just remember feeling that was one of the harder things that I've done, and I didn't help myself by having.
No, not at all. Not at all. And you learn from it, certainly.
Yeah.
Was that tri-state? Was that like Kings Mountain or something?
It was at Blue Mountain. It was.
Okay.
And that was so.
Nice.
It was. I went to that's in PA, Poconos. I was in the Poconos when I
Nice.
did that one. So.
At Palmerton?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That was.
Brutal.
Oh, yeah.
The double sandbag carry up that Black Diamond is like, I've seen grown men literally crying.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
doubt.
It was great.
No doubt.
Wonderful experience.
Awesome
But
times.
definitely.
Everybody do Spartan races. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go. Just don't drink the night before.
The
and
Spartan's gonna hit us up and be like, guys, you can't talk about it.
yeah,
Jesus
come on,
Christ.
man. Well, we're but yeah, I'm excited to see you because hopefully we could link up when you're around.
Yeah, let's link.
That would be awesome.
100%.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
So Dave, tell the audience how we could get in touch with you, how we can follow along on your journey.
Cool. You can find me on Instagram at getstrappedstaystrapped. You can find my website at workyourstories.com, workyourstories.com. I've also got a men's mentorship program launching this fall, which is really, really exciting. It's called The Art of Human Flourishing. And that's a monthly mentorship. I piloted that over the first 9 months of the year with a couple of my clients, and it's just gone fantastic. So I'm going to open that up a lot more, October, November-ish. So I'm looking forward to chatting further about all that stuff with anyone who, would like to do so.
Awesome. That's
Nice.
tremendous. Before we get off, I need to say it was the episode where Uncle Leo stole the book. Do you remember? He stole the book in the bookstore, and Jerry said, "Swarm, swarm." And then he was having the moment where he's like, "Shit, I just dimed out my uncle," and he's picturing Uncle Leo in jail, and he's doing pull-ups, and it says "Hello, Jerry" on his knuckles.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, "Jerry, hello," as he's doing the pull-ups. I knew I would get there eventually.
know
I'm
you
a
would.
Seinfeld guy.
That's great.
So I appreciate the space to be able to deal with the shit that's going on in my head. It's like monkeys.
He's on the spectrum somewhere.
Write that shit down, man. Write that shit down.
Absolutely. So Building Men, you can find us at building.men on Instagram. Email us, buildingmencoach@gmail.com. You can follow along on all the podcast channels and on YouTube. Go a step further than you thought you could go today. Dave Robinson, thank you so much for being on the podcast. We'll see you next time on Building Men.